What's up, Coaxy Mob? Hey, so I got some stuff today. I'm gonna call out some liars. There's some history trying to be rewritten by Jason Wygant and Racer X, and I can't just sit here and let them rewrite history. It's ridiculous. So I'm gonna call out some stuff about World Supercross and SMX and how they're competitors, and I'm gonna break down some myths that Wygant put out there. I like Wygant, but this is just straight propaganda. I want to talk about Jett and his punishment, and then also the LA track. But before we get into it, I want to thank Coach Rob at Complete Racing Solutions. If you haven't checked it out yet, check out Coach Rob's podcast that he did with Dan, Toolman Dan. Coach is a bad dude, and he's also got programs for everybody, so check him out. Epic Garage Designs. Man, there's so many products. Go into Epic Garage Designs. It's not just floors, cabinets. Just get yourself a Pro Rack. Hang your bicycles off a Pro Rack. Put boxes up on top of it. They're inexpensive and they're just easy. Order it, drop ship right to you. Boom, there you go. Ride Strapped. Ride Strapped is awesome. And so I apologize, guys. The Red Pill shirts were not on the website until this week. I thought they were already on there. But you get your Red Pill shirt if you want over there at ridestrap.com. And then if you're going to ship something, ship it with Precision Transport. Precision Transport is a trucking company that they support motocross and they don't screw you around. So check out Precision Transport. And then remember, guys, 3 Palms. We are working on keeping this motocross. So if you want to buy or know anyone that wants to buy, that wants to keep 3 Palms motocross, please reach out to me. You can email me, chriscookseymedia@gmail.com, or message me on Instagram, either one. So anyway, guys, let's get into this. Let's drop some truth.
You need people like me so you can point your fucking fingers and say, that's the bad guy.
All right, guys, so I was listening to the Racer X pod because, Weege is pretty good. Weege is a great mouthpiece. He really does a good job talking about stuff. I genuinely like listening to him. But you have to understand, he is a shill, 100% a shill for Racer X or whomever will pay him and put him in the booth. Weege takes care of Weege. And, I'm not going to knock him for that. Good on him. He's doing really great. And he's pretty nice guy when you talk to him. So nothing against Weege, but he broke down the whole timeline of how SMX is. He's trying to say SMX is different. It's not even a competitor to World Supercross. It had nothing to do with it in the creation, which is a complete lie. It's a fabrication. It absolutely did. He broke it down as to how the FIM left or was abandoned by the Supercross because the teams didn't want it. He's absolutely correct. The teams didn't want it. There was no reason for it. The only reason that Feld was holding on to the FIM sanctioning was to make sure they didn't have a competitor. So when they let that go, which this was going whether COVID hit or not, the word was out. They were already shopping this before COVID hit. We knew the FIM was going. So to say that FIM left because of COVID it's just not true. It's absolutely not true. And then, to say that the SMX was planned before World Supercross, that's not true either. They started SMX planning in 2022. World Supercross was started in 2021. If you guys remember, just think about 2021 Supercross series and how many guys were shopping for World Supercross rides long before SMX was even discussed. And yeah, I also agree it's great that the, Racer X, MX Sports, which it's one company, and it blows me away how they keep saying MX Sports is just a small company compared to Feld. Feld's a juggernaut. No, that's bullcrap. Yes, they probably shuffle money around, but it's actually probably a more powerful company than Feld because the way that Davey Coombs has built it. He's built it on a platform of Racer X. Control the media, control the promotions. It's brilliant. It's actually like he can spin his own narrative. And if it weren't for guys like me and Hopper and Travis from Moto Aftermath, they would be able to respin this narrative just like mainstream media does and change history and say, oh no, SMX was created out of its own thing. It had nothing to do with, no. Take World Supercross out of the picture. SMX doesn't exist. They were talking about this. Yes, they were, oh yeah, we're getting along after COVID. And the two organizations got together during COVID. Up until then, it was like a Cold War. They buried the hatchet and they got the races done. And kudos to everybody involved. And yeah, they were saving the sport, but also they were saving their own businesses. But I don't want to take away from that because it was great. It was awesome. But yeah, don't act like you did this out of the kindness of your heart. Both companies got together out of necessity to keep the sport alive, to keep the sport that they generate money off of. Yes, lots of other people do, and they like to take credit for, acting like this, charity organization that just hands out money to these teams and provides them a place to race. But what they didn't say is, yeah, if they go away, someone else will pop up. There's always somebody else that's going to do this. It's not going away. So don't, and they try to play that carrot like, oh, you should be so thankful that we're there. Yeah, we're thankful, and they do an amazing job. They really do. And this SMX thing has worked out about as good as it possibly could have. I love the SMX. I love that they mixed motocross and they mixed supercross, and it's become its own thing. And yeah, and the way the points, single, double, triple, this might be the biggest 3 races of the year. And this might be the most prestigious championship of the year. So yeah, it's worked out exactly how they wanted it to. And I give them kudos and I support that 100%. But then, and then that was a direct shot at me in the podcast where people are making fun of the name Super Duper. The reason I make fun of it is because it's plagiarism. Supermoto is an actual sport where you have street tires on a dirt bike and you go half dirt, half street. That's Supermoto. And they just went Supermoto Cross. Whatever. You know what? The X Games screwed up the first year of X Games, or first couple of years, they called it Xtreme Games. It was the dumbest name. Tony Hawk made fun of everybody. And then they just went with X Games. Nobody complains. Maybe we just call it SMX. SMX is a much better name than Super Duper Motocross. It is. So, if you just want to call it SMX, perfect. SMX championship, whatever. But yeah, I do agree with him. This is going to be the most premier championship in this sport because it does cross disciplines. It crosses motocross and supercross, which are 2 completely separate sports at this point in time. As you can see, is how the guys struggle on one versus the other. But yeah, it just blows me away how they try to rewrite history. Listen, they did this because they needed to cover their ass because World Supercross and the original owner or the original CEO before Adam Bailey came in like a bull in a china shop and basically put a target on MX Sports. So then MX Sports goes and says, hey, remember how we kind of discussed possibly doing something? Let's do it. Oh, and then the TV deal. The TV deals, yes, they didn't coincide to the same year. Well, yes, they did want to link up and possibly do that type of thing, but that wasn't in the works until MX Sports tried to do their own thing with Lucas Oil. And this could have been $1 billion deal. This could have been their own streaming network. Had it worked, it would have been huge. It didn't. It sucked. So they went right back to NBC, partnered with Feld, and got this thing done. It all happens the way it should, and it did. And it's working out great. And I love the SMX format. I love the pay. I love the point system. The only change that I would make this year is pay by moto and like points by moto. And then I would also add a full gate in the LCQ. That's it. I really think that they did an amazing job at planning this thing. It had the desired effect to keep guys racing. So yeah, it's a success, but let's not try and rewrite history. There's no reason to. Just go with what it was. I don't understand the need to rewrite this to where they're doing it on their own. Let's just call it what it was. It was something that was designed to protect the Outdoor Nationals and the Supercross Series from a possible competitor and the FIM. And then it worked out really good. So let's just call it what it is. Let's not try and rewrite history and say it was just the coming together of 2 organizations. It had nothing to do with work. That's just propaganda. So anyway, that's it for the propaganda and the rewriting of history. But it just gives you an idea of the mentality of Davey Coombs and these guys and how dumb they think we are. The fact that they can just retell it, and if they just retell it, then it didn't happen. I mean, come on. They must watch CNN and some of these other news sources because that's what they do too. But now let's get into Jett. So Jett got an official warning from the AMA, and what this is a warning shot across the bow. They need to do this because he has a tendency to help out his brother. His brother will be in the 450 class next year. They don't want this going on. Now they've already got a written warning. So if he does this, because if you remember a couple of years ago at Paula, when Hunter was battling with Joe Shimoda for, I believe, second overall in the series, Jett wanted to help him, and he was pissed that Honda didn't give him the notification to go do it. They're brothers. They like each other. They do things like this. I've done this. My brother helped me win a race. It was an 80 intermediate race back in the day. I got third. My brother was the fastest guy, but he piled it up in the first moto, got like last. He told me, hey man, if you can get into second, I'm going to win the moto. But if you can get into second, I'll just pull over and get in between you and you'll win the overall. I'm like, Yeah, of course, man. You know, like a good big brother, I don't think he really thought that I could get into second. Well, I passed Doug Jackson. You know who you are. You're probably still mad about it. And Shad Jarvis. I got by both those guys. I'm in second, and I'm like praying my brother looks back, and he does, looks back, lets me over. I get him, he gets in between. I win the overall. Boy, his dad, Doug Jackson's dad, was so upset with us. But those things happen. Brothers take care of brothers. But it's this weird bond where we fight like cats and dogs, but when it comes right down to it, nobody else can mess with this. I mean, shoot, my brother and I got into a fight at a pool hall one time. He took the tip of the stick and whacked it across my face. So I took the butt of it and hit him in the ribs. We're fighting with pool sticks at a pool hall. And this cowboy comes over and goes, I'll whip both of you. And instantly our anger from each other turns and we look at this guy and we're like, should we kick his ass? We didn't. But it's just funny, the brothers, and they had to kind of do this, or else I could see Jett and Hunter working together all next year and all the rest of their careers, because that's the kind of bond they have. And while I respect that, the AMA had to draw a line and just at least put something out there, even if it's just a warning. But now, Jett, when you do something like this, look down at the bike, fake an injury. You're going to have to make it look a little bit more obvious. Don't just wave people by. If you're going to do this, you got to disguise it just a little bit. So anyway, guys, that's it. I cannot wait for this weekend and the SMX finale. It is going to be amazing. I am praying for a Deegan Ghost Ride. I think it would be one of the coolest things ever in sports. So anyway, thanks, guys. I'll catch you later. Remember, subscribe and help me get this channel and keep the truth coming.